demonstrate what exactly the problem is here, we need to quickly take a look at 4 comparable episodes of Dragon Ball and see how they differ from GT Episode 1. These episodes are Dragon Ball Episode 1, Dragon Ball Z Episode 1, Dragon Ball Super Episode 1, and Dragon Ball Daima Episode 1. By taking a look at these episodes, we can see how the beginning of a new anime should be handled. Then we could compare it to GT Episode 1 and how they handled their grand premiere. The first episode of Dragon Ball is a timeless masterpiece. I don't think the series would be what it is today if they didn't nail the introduction to these characters and the world right out the gate. We start off very slow, meeting this weird little kid named Son Goku, who is out in the wilderness doing strange hillbilly things. He gathers firewood, looks for food, and prays to this little orange ball for some reason. After catching a giant fish, a mysterious girl hits Goku with her car and then proceeds to shoot him in the face, which somehow doesn't hurt him. Bulma introduces herself and explains what she's doing, trying to gather the 7 magical Dragon Balls with her amazing dragon radar. The radar has brought her to Goku's 4-star Dragon Ball, and the two become intertwined. Then we cut to this little blue troll dude. He seems to be looking for the Dragon Balls too. From the music, we could tell that he's evil. There's your tension. Goku and Bulma are looking for the Dragon Balls, but the viewer knows there's an evil force looking for them as well. Our first villain is introduced. The episode is slow and simple. We meet Goku and learn about his way of life, then Bulma is introduced, and the adventure begins. Our villain is also introduced in the background. It's not overwhelming to the viewer, it's just the bare essentials to get the plot rolling. We start slow and then ramp things up. The first episode of Dragon Ball Z is very similar in structure. We open on a random farm with random farmers doing farmer things. The narrator immediately tells us it's been 5 years since the last Tenkaichi Budokai, and the world has been at peace. But something is coming. The music gets spooky as a mysterious sphere travels through space. We then meet up with Goku, who is, once again, out in the wilderness doing strange hillbilly things. He punches down a giant tree to bring to his home nearby. Then his wife tells him to go and find their son, Gohan. Meanwhile, we cut back to that farm, and the sphere that was flying through space has crash landed and created a huge crater. A very hairy man emerges from the ship and easily kills the farmer that finds him, catching his bullet and deflecting it back at him. From this one simple action, we are immediately told everything we need to know about this new threat. This guy means business. He has a device that can read how powerful someone is, and it looks like he's found Goku. We officially have our first villain. Meanwhile, little baby Gohan is lost in the woods. He's attacked by a saber-toothed tiger, and we learn that despite being Goku's son, he can't really defend himself. Gohan continues to wander around the wilderness alone, and we as an audience get to know him. We see how he reacts to certain things, nice and slow. Goku finally finds Gohan's lost hat and can see he's in danger, barely clinging to the wood that is being carried away by the stream. In the end, Gohan survives, and we see Goku bond with his son for the first time. Meanwhile, the mysterious hairy villain comes across Piccolo, the main villain of the last arc. Piccolo cannot even put a scratch on this dude, which is an easy way to establish just how powerful this new villain is. And that's it. Really, this was a Gohan episode, who we are meeting for the first time. We follow Gohan around, he eventually meets up with Goku, and that's really all we got here. Our villain is also introduced in the background. Once again, nothing is overwhelming here. It's the bare essentials to get the plot rolling. We see what Goku, Chi-Chi, and Piccolo have been up to now that 5 years have passed, and again, we start slow and then ramp things up. Even 20 years later with the first episode of Dragon Ball Super, we revert back to familiar territory. Episode 1 of Super structurally resembles the first episode of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. A few months have passed since Majin Buu was defeated, and we meet Goku, who is out in the wilderness doing strange hillbilly things. Goku has somehow landed a job plowing fields because the sons are running out of money. Goten comes to visit his dad, and we learn that Goku likes this job because he's alone and can do a quick training session whenever he wants. Goku says he always needs to be ready because if a threat like Majin Buu appears again, he'll have to be even stronger. We cut to Beerus, who wipes out half a planet because they don't prepare a meal to his liking. We've already met the main villain of this arc and have an idea of what he's all about. We see what Mr. Satan, Buu, Videl, and Gohan are up to, Then cut to Goten and Trunks. Goten has an idea. He wants to get Videl a wedding gift. They ultimately end up flying to the mountains to collect some hot spring water in a bottle, which they believe Videl can use for some kind of skincare. Videl appreciates the adorable gift from these little kids who have no idea that it's just water. Meanwhile, Mr. Satan gives Goku a ton of money so he can safely quit his job to focus on training over at Kaio-sama's planet. Overall, it's an adorable episode. Once again, we're starting slow and the stakes are low. Meanwhile, the greater threat is already present. Not imminent, but it's hovering there in the background. Daima Episode 1 provides perhaps the best comparison yet, as it shares so many similarities with GT Episode 1. Except it's done better. A lot better. First off, the pace. Daima Episode 1 doesn't throw you into the middle of a million things happening all at once and you feel like you're going to throw up after 3 minutes. Instead, the entire first half of this episode consists of a lengthy introduction scene for our main villain Goma and his servant Dagesu. The two of them literally rewatch scenes from the Buu Saga, reanimated in a gorgeous, breathtaking modern style. They see these absolute monsters in action and fear for their lives. If they were capable of defeating Majin Buu, they could easily invade the Demon Realm and come after Goma next. So something has to be done. Goma and Dagesu decide to use the Dragon Balls. The dragon wouldn't accept a wish to simply eliminate them, so instead, they decide to turn them into children and, presumably, make them harmless. After watching this scene, you know everything you need to know about our main villain. His motivations are clear and the stakes are set immediately. This is all achieved through two dudes talking in a room for 10 minutes, and it's absolutely captivating. Daima also manages to quickly fix a number of other problems we saw in GT's first episode, including a proper motivation for Goku to actually want to turn back into an adult, a more sensible way for our villain to immediately get his hands on a full set of Dragon Balls, and of course, there's the execution of the wish itself, which I went over earlier in the video. Daima Episode 1 is proof that you don't even necessarily have to strictly follow the template provided by Dragon Ball Episode 1 and Dragon Ball Z Episode 1. You just have to be logical with your storytelling, introduce some compelling characters, and establish some kind of threat that our heroes will soon have to overcome. In essence, it's simply GT Episode 1 done right. The other post-time skip episodes are no different. DBZ Episode 200 tells a simple slice-of-life story revolving around a Gohan that is 7 years older and attending his first day at high school. He meets Videl and hilarity ensues. DBZ Episode 289 begins with a focus on Trunks, who is now 10 years older. He arrives at Gohan's house, and one by one we see what everyone has been up to since Majin Buu was defeated. We learn Gohan is married Videl. Meanwhile, Goten is out in the mountains training with Goku. Bulma arrives with Vegeta, and finally we meet a 4-year-old Pan who is getting ready to fight in the Tenkaichi Budokai. All of these episodes share something in common. They start with low stakes, which usually means Goku in the wilderness being silly. Slowly, Toriyama introduces some characters and gracefully begins advancing the plot. He'll usually establish the main villain of the arc right away, so we know that there is a threat looming out there. This creates immediate tension for our characters and excitement for the viewer. I say if it ain't broke, don't fix it. GT's first episode has none of that. In GT, we're immediately thrown in the middle of Goku's final training session with Oob, while Pilaf is scaling Kami's lookout. Compare this to the 4 episodes I just broke down. It's insanity. Oob graduates, leaves, and Pilaf finds a full set of Dragon Balls that no one has ever seen before, and it's like, whoa, slow down. Before you could even take a breath, Pilaf has wished for Goku to turn into a kid. Oh, and by the way, we don't see the main villain of this arc in Episode 1. In fact, we don't see the main threat appear for 13 episodes. Not only is Pilaf not the main enemy of this arc, he's never seen again. The most important moment in the entire show happens thanks to a one-off appearance of a character that is never seen again. There is no slow build-up here. You are thrown right into it from the very first frame of this episode. Then we get Pan going on dates. We learn the Earth is going to explode in a year unless they find those Black Star Dragon Balls. It's like, man, this is like 10 episodes worth of DBZ material crammed down into 20 minutes. The pacing is supersonic. Now, I don't think everything has to be the same all the time, but I'm probably going to side with Akira Toriyama when it comes to effective storytelling, and not the guys who think it's a good idea to have 9-year-olds going on dates, or completely nonsensical stipulations attached to Dragon Balls that appear seemingly out of nowhere. If Toriyama thinks it's a good idea to start a big new story arc pretty much the same way every time, it's probably a good idea.